All right. Hey, how's it going there, everybody? So today we have Kaiulani Bush on the podcast. She is an incredible human being, and I'm so grateful that she generously spent a few hours with us to have a conversation. She's a very accomplished assistant coordinator for a lot of studio projects like King Richard, TENET, Oppenheimer that's coming out. She's also worked on shows like Always Sunny, and she's also, on top of that, a very generous, kind, loving human being, and an aspiring producer in her own right, and well on her way to doing it. So enjoy the podcast. All right, cool, peace.
You got life under your eyes. You got life.
Yes. Well, Kai, I guess we can start the formal conversation if you'd like. And this is very informal in its nature. So don't let me just interview you. And if you have questions or call BS, you're more than welcome to do it.
You know, I'll call your BS.
You're very good at it. And but the reason why I wanted to ask you on is because I think you're somebody who's both you're incredibly talented, and you're very accomplished in what you've been doing so far. And you've also been able to fit in a lot of fun over the course of, I think, your career as well, with a lot of the travel and things that you do. And you're one of those people who, are working in production more often than not. And so those tend to be very high intensity shoots, and then you have periods of rest. And that's sort of like the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the best way that I think this conversation can go is, number one, talk about where you went to school, what your initial kind of goals were, and then progress on through how you got started and all those kinds of things. So, and then we just let it go from there.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing just gets derailed after that.
And then we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah.
It all started
way back
in the day.
My
day, I was paying $25 to fill my gas tank up.
We had to buy the film camera, develop it.
I fell in love with filmmaking, or I knew I wanted to make movies in high school.
You grew up in Orange County?
Yeah, from Orange County. And I, now looking back, have a very lucky, privileged experience that we had film in my high school. So I started doing it, and I was like, dope, this is sick, love it. I was always started like a goofball and kind of a big personality, so I thought like acting would be my thing. But then as soon as I got behind the camera, I was like, oh, whoa.
This is cool.
I was like the problem solving, the planning, the
people
directing.
Do what I say.
Yeah, people.
I have power.
Yeah, I was like, the power. Yeah. I was like, okay, wait, this is actually way better, because I was like, actors, just nothing against like actors, but then
of course not, we need them.
Yeah, we definitely need them. But everything that leads up to like action is so crazy that you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got hooked into that. So when I went to college, fun fact, actually, I applied as a chemistry major.
Did you? I didn't know this. And by the way, I'm going to ask you questions that I probably already know the answers to, but it's just for posterity and making sure our vast audience knows.
Yeah, all good. I actually applied for college as a chemistry major.
Why chemistry? I'm just curious.
I love math and science.
Okay.
Which I think helps. I can kind of see that in my type A organization style. So I was hooked into that, did that, and I went to college at Washington State University. Go Cougs. Yeah, again, if someone's watching this, and I'm wearing a UC Davis sweatshirt. My sister went there.
Yes. Oh, so you're stealing clothes from your sister.
No, we bought this for everyone in our family. It was like a graduation sponsor thing. Like you buy it, and then some of the funds goes back to the college to like give grants or something to the incoming students for their law school. So everyone in my family has one of these sweatshirts.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and because it was raining this morning in LA, which never happens.
Never.
I wanted to be like all comfy and cozy. We hung out.
Yes, we want you to feel comfortable. That's
Thanks.
the goal.
But I mean, when I went to college, my school had a communications program, but it was like really big news based. So like Edward R. Murrow, who was a big...
Is that like journalism then?
Yeah,
kind of
journalism. So a lot of my classmates, like all of my classmates, I think, I don't know, there's a few that went on to do scripted and documentary, but most do news broadcasting and that kind of world. So I learned more studio based stuff like that.
Right.
But I loved doing scripted. Always knew it was gonna be the passion. So when I finished school, I wasn't in a rush to move to LA to do it, because I also knew or felt like once I jumped into it, which is kind of this bad side of the film industry, I think when you first start out, is that you're expected just to like give up your whole life and sacrifice and like work 18-hour days, and like the longer you work and the less you work for, the more you care about the job.
Sure.
And so I was scared that once I started that, when would I be able to travel and like do fun things? So I moved.
Yeah.
That's when I did a lot of my big travels, and like moved to Berlin and like was in did Southeast Asia for
Almost
a
kind
little
of like
bit.
a gap year a little bit.
Yeah, I took,
Only you did after college.
Yeah, I did. I did a gap year after college before jumping into the real world, because I was like, LA will always be there.
Sure.
So yeah, I wasn't in a rush to get down here, but when I did get down here, I started in sports, television, and reality.
Okay.
Because at Wazoo, we're part of the Pac-12, and they hire students to like run cable and like learn basic things and kind of just do like...
It's like built in their program.
Yeah, they're just like, they probably go to all the Pac-12 schools. So when they come, they bring in their own shooting crew and everything, but then they'll hire students at like lower rates, probably. Yeah, low rates.
Yeah.
Because when
there's some write-off, they can have like an educational exemption or something like that. Yeah.
And so when I graduated and then I moved down here, USC and UCLA are here, and they're like, oh, you can be like utility again. And I saw the paycheck and I was like, oh, wow. It's a little bit different here. But then it was me, like a 19-year-old. No, I'm not 19. When you graduate college, oh my God.
22, 23.
Yeah. And then like, then it was like 50 or 40 plus men just like running the cables, and I'm like, I do not fit in here whatsoever. Like,
been doing it for 25 years. Like,
yeah, and I was just like running like, if you ever watch like football games or basketball games, there's the cameraman, camera person holding the equipment, and then the cable person behind them, like over under, and like that was my job, to make sure that they
didn't trip up or anything.
They're not tripping or falling. The best games are definitely like baseball, because those are all locked in cameras, so you just like run cable and then you sit and watch the baseball game, and then you wrap it up afterwards.
It's beautiful.
Basketball and football were the most stressful.
Yeah. Well, I feel like just live television in general would be incredibly stressful, because it's like your director guy's like, camera 1, camera 4, camera 3, zoom in, cut. Like, I mean, it's all going, and it's just like there's very little room for error. There
is, and I was addicted to that sense, and that's what I liked about news and broadcasting. The only thing I liked about it is you only have one chance to get it right.
Yeah.
Then it cuts away. It's very formula in terms of how you read the stories, how you produce the stories. If it's a happy story, it has this kind of cut. If it's a sad story, you go out on this type of music. But the idea of like, it's a set time period. My dream at the time, which still like I feel like would be so much fun, is to be a technical director or the director of like the Oscars or the Olympics opening ceremonies. Like, ready, one, take one. Like that, like super, like watching them do that. I was like, it's so high stressed and like, but I
especially for like those like big like cultural events, like like the Olympics or like the World Cup right now or whatever. Like that'd be nuts.
There's someone when you ever go to a concert, things like that. What you see on the screen, there's someone behind that who's deciding that how this should look for you. So someone's curating your experience. Yeah. And to be that person that does that and to know what people would enjoy was always interesting to me.
You're almost kind of like a conductor in that way. Like you're just like
visual conductor.
Visual conductor. Yeah, that should be the title. They should reorient that title, make it sound sexier.
Yeah. Oh, we love a good sexy sound.
Yeah, sexy sound. Cool. So how long were you in that world for?
Reality and sports. I think I lucked out like three, maybe 4 months when I moved to LA. And even though I'm from Orange County, which is about an hour south of here, I had been to LA before, I was familiar, but I didn't really have any friends out. I knew a few people like still in the area from high school and things like that, which I am close to. But I found myself not knowing what to do socially and things like that. And my friends who were here.
Were you living at home and then commuting, or did you get a place in Los Angeles?
I had a place in LA. Okay. And my roommate went to USC at the time, or she just graduated from USC, so she's already been in LA for 4 years. So she was like established, had like a sense of the city and what to do, and she had a job. Nice. Yeah. So then she would like go to work and things like that. I'm like, oh, be here, like, trying to figure out
what I'm gonna do.
What to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I would like I went to AFI, to the American Film Institute, which is a big film school here in Los Angeles, and like,
also how we met.
How we met.
Yeah.
And I worked for free on their sets, on their student projects to one, learn how to work on set, two, to also like meet people and just like also get out of my house. Yeah. Because I didn't know what to do.
It's great. I did the exact same thing, and like that job directly didn't like get me my next job, but it did allow me to say like, hey, like I have these experiences, and then that armed me to help me be more prepared than somebody who did not have those experiences. So that was really helpful, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's definitely huge doing stuff like that to an extent. So when I was doing that, I was driving for like Caviar and like food delivery services. Yeah. In the meantime, to like make a little bit of money, like
make rent.
Yeah, make a budget where I'm like, how many days do I need to do like these random. Like I worked on like Master Chef and Face Off, like that makeup competition show. So I would balance out those to pay the rent and bills and stuff like that.
You're just getting those gigs just through people that you knew, or through applying on like a job board, or what?
I did I got on Face Off, which was my more stable job, from someone who went to my university, was like the coordinator there. So she hired like a bunch of the PAs. So that was definitely like an easy way in. And I got offered a few times to like bump up from PA to like be like a coordinator and help out. But I heard it's really easy to kind of then get stuck in that world. And I was like, I didn't want to commit to it. So I'm like, no, I'll just keep being a PA. Yeah. And like, what? Yeah, I remember one time I had to, I was driving one of the pass vans. So like those like 13-seater Sprinter vans with the higher tops.
Yeah. Like transpo.
Yeah, I was transpo, but it's like when you're doing reality, it's like real guerrilla style, real under the ropes kind of stuff. I don't know when we get in trouble talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
But. No, but I remember one time early in the morning, we were renting out an elementary school parking lot or like playground as like our base camp, and I ran into the basketball hoop and like broke it. And it was like 7 a.m. I was like, I like didn't think about it, and I would always drive by that school, and they never like fixed the hoop, and I just had this like sinking feeling that I just ruined someone's hope dreams,
someone's childhood,
hope dreams. I came back to school that year, and there was no basketball hoop because little me was just like, didn't realize the height of my pass van when it hit it.
I'm surprised that like the school didn't just like bill the production to like fix it. Like they didn't notice. They must not have.
Dude, I'm sure they did, but maybe they just, I don't know, put the money. Cause I'm sure we got an L&D for that. Loss and damage. Because at the end, anytime you do rentals or equipments, locations, things like that, you'll get a bill at the end of if things are broken. And that was a hard thing to miss.
It's pretty prevalent in the parking lot.
Backboard was gone. There was no saving that one.
Yeah.
So I carry that guilt with me for the rest of my life that I ruined someone's basketball dreams at that elementary school.
Well, you can always pay it forward. You can, in success, just buy him a whole new court or something.
Buy him a whole new gosh darn court.
Yeah.
But someone took a chance on me in regards to moving from reality to scripted, just through like a Facebook post. A homie was like, my homie's looking for a PA in their office, and I sent them my resume, and they were like, you've only done reality and sports, and this is like scripted Fox half-hour comedy. And I was kind of like, I know, I'm begging you. I'm cool. I can learn it. I just haven't had the chance to learn it. Like, no one's given me.
Right.
So it's that weird intro.
It's also weird, like, I don't know, because I came from reality into scripted too, and it's like, it's a weird thing, because I feel like from a logistics and like just like a creation standpoint, the production of it is relatively the same. There's cameras, there's logistics, there's operations, like all those things exist. So I don't really understand what like the distinction is between scripted and unscripted is, but like on a hiring level, but it does exist. And I don't know. It's strange though.
Yeah, there's like a turf war when there's like reality versus scripted, and then also TV versus film.
Yes.
So I've done all those worlds too, and
Yeah.
then people are like, "Oh, you do TV?" Or like, "Yeah, it's." And then commercials versus.
Yeah, I think it's like a prestige, like it's like a weird like high school kind of like how cool is, you know, or is your clique kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it's like by doing all of them, they all have their pluses and minuses. They all have their niches, and I say literally do it all because then you're ready for it all. And
Yeah.
I've done it. So I remember, I remember when I got the job for Fox. It was Speechless was the comedy show where.
I don't know if I remember that one. What did they do?
It was like the premise of that one was like a family comedy as well, kind of thing. But the son was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And had like a speech impediment kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So that was like their kind of angle, like
Yeah.
mini driver.
Oh, okay. This is starting to come back to me a little bit. I vaguely remember this. Okay.
Yeah. So that was my first one, and I remember when I did get hired, they said that they went on all of our Facebook pages. The
Oh,
PAs,
really? To like look at stuff?
They looked at all of us and they're like, you seemed like the funnest. And I was like,
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, mind your social media, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, social media. And low key, like that's something going forward when I've started working on shows. I've learned it from one of my bosses. Yeah, like Danielle and Courtney Fontaine, these twin sisters that I worked for in the past, that always willing to hire someone completely green, and they believe in hiring someone completely green.
Yeah.
Because you can, as long as you have someone else that's done the job, I think in production you can learn the ins and outs of it. I can teach someone how to make sides, how to do call sheets.
Sure.
But it's more of like, who do you want to hang out with for 12 hours?
Yeah.
In a bullpen.
Well, there's two comments I have on that. One, I think a lot of hiring people vastly underestimate or undervalue enthusiasm, and like just like somebody's, even though they're inexperienced, there's potential there, and you have an opportunity to shape somebody who has, you know, because the downside of hiring somebody who's done it a bunch is they've done it their way a bunch, and if your way is different than theirs, sometimes there's like a clash, or there's like, well, this isn't how we did it on our, you know, on these sets, or on, you know, in this situation. And sometimes there's just, I don't know, after you've been doing a job for 10 years, there's just a little bit more of like a grizzled kind of like veteran quality to it. And I mean, I think a lot of people still carry their enthusiasm with them, but there is something unique about somebody who's just like young, enthusiastic, impressionable, and just like willing to learn. And I think, and want to impress their superiors, because they want to stand out, and they do want to advance. And so seeing hiring managers and people who are crewing up with that in mind, I think is wise. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to put those people, you know, on the line for like a big $100 million thing, because that's a lot of pressure. But for like, you know, starting out on something, on, you know, a smaller production or something, I think it's great. It should be done more.
Yeah, I think so I mean, in the formal studio world, when I work on productions, we usually have like 3 or 4 office PAs. So I try to push and fight for that one of our PAs is like completely green.
Yeah.
And then the other ones have done it so they can like teach the other person and do that. And yeah, that's something that I think is just really important, because the biggest thing is people like, how do I get started? Like, I don't even, like, I know I could do it. I want to do it. And I think we've all been there, and it's just that weird catch-22. It's like, well, you haven't done this before. It's like, 'cause no one's giving me a gosh.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah,
I swear.
Yeah, I swear.
Yeah. But to your other point, sorry if I didn't finish my other comment, was that it is important that you like who you're working with, because these are long days. You are on your feet a bunch, and it's like, you know, I've worked a lot of jobs where I didn't like the doing of the job, but I really liked the people and the environment I was around, and that's made it. I would much rather do a job I didn't like with people that I liked than a job that I really liked with people that I don't like. I mean, in a perfect world, you have both. That doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, the people and the relationships and, the camaraderie that's built on set, I think is very valuable, and is something that's felt. And I think you could probably speak to it more than me, because you've been on more sets, that like how like the tone of the set drastically can kind of like affect both the end product, but also just like the general morale from like day to day.
For sure, yeah. You're like, you are going in the trenches. So I have worked on like projects that are just the homies pulling together, like all for free, bootstrap $5,000 budget to $100 million budget movies.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about all of it though, because like, and that, again, that's another reason. Like this, like we're probably gonna have to do like another part, because like I feel like this could be like a 3-hour conversation. But that's great, because like you've lived, like I said, like you've lived a very broad life and had a lot of broad experiences, and I think you have a lot of knowledge and like what you can share with people who are thinking about like, well, how do I attack this thing? Because I think you've done an exceptional job at doing it and are going to continue to do it. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So like the reality TV thing, and then like, and then the sitcom.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Were you overwhelmed, or did you fall into it, or?
I fell into it. Like I think I had good bosses and leaders in the sense that started to prepare me.
And good instincts.
Some good instincts.
Yeah.
I got wrapped up into, after that, doing Fox half-hour comedies for about a year, working in the production office as a PA, and then a production secretary, then assistant production coordinator. And so.
Oh, can you tell us like what sort of like the hierarchy is in like a production, like from PA to like, like showrunner? Like what are like some of the steps?
Yeah, for sure. So you have PAs. So this is from the office.
Office
Standpoint. Which I've done did both set and office.
Yeah, and production office essentially are handling a lot of logistics, right? They're doing the hiring and firing. They're making sure all the crafties are there, the hotels are staffed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you have your on set, and then like your production office. So production office usually starts probably like a month to 3 months before shooting day. So before day one of shooting, you got to make sure, like, our job is to make sure on day one, pre-production is everything is in line and like everything is good to go and ready for the shoot. And so in your office, you'll have production assistants, PAs, who kind of do the tasks of, of course, like getting coffee, stocking that stuff.
Getting all the what do they have, like the trays for the actors or whatever, like their snacks. Riders.
We'll prep we'll prep what they want in their trailers, but then the set PAs, they got to execute that.
Okay.
But we'll get the list of what they want in their trailers, and we'll make sure it's ready to go. Everything goes through the production office, stuff like that. Above the PAs there's a production secretary, which is kind of like someone who is been a PA for a little bit of time. Yeah. They handle more of the paperwork and communication, so they're like sending the stuff out. They're running our programs of distribution, a lot more. They're got to be really organized in that job, making sure they know who needs to know what, and
Is that like permitting too, and like that kind of thing?
No, permitting is locations department.
Okay.
It depends on. So this hierarchy is for like very studio based. So we have very specialized kind of jobs. It's like, because there's so many working parts. In the independent world, if you can afford a locations department, then they'll be doing permitting and stuff like that. But if not, that's all coming from us. Then above the production secretary is the assistant production coordinator, who is like the right-hand person to the production coordinator. And I guess maybe going from like the way top down to...
Because the top is basically the line producer, right? Who's handling all this stuff.
The line producer is the top of the below the line crew.
Correct, yeah.
So you have your crews are... you have above the line and
they're the
below
ones
the
who are
line.
liaising with like the showrunners and the producers and like to execute their vision.
Correct, yeah. So the line producer has is like helping create the budget and knows what numbers we need to stay within, right? So the line producer is working a lot with the creatives to find a middle ground between how to make your vision be real, but how to be within a number.
Yeah.
So they know that world. Then the line producer works with the lead accountant as well, because they are very number oriented. Then they take that number and baby and kind of pass it off to like a UPM, a unit production manager, which usually comes from the AD route, the assistant directors. So the DGA world is like a UPM or a production supervisor, more producer side. And then those people, they know what number they have to work with. So the line producer is helping create that number and how do we problem solve. So like your director wants to do a big explosion and they want to blow up 30 cars.
Crash a plane into a hangar or something.
Oh my God. You're laughing about that because you're talking about when I worked on TENET.
Yes, I am.
But on that one I wasn't in that budget.
I know.
But it's so funny. So say your director wants to do a big car blow up scene and wants to blow up 30 cars.
Yeah.
As a line producer, you're looking at it like, we can't do that. How about if we did 15 because that will fit more in the world? Your production supervisor.
And also, how's that going to look on screen? Is 30 going to look better than 15? Like, how can they look the same or something?
Yeah.
You're talking to cinematographers, like, well, what if we did this? Or
can we do it in post?
Yeah.
Like, can we add like
do a crowd with 20 people instead of 200 or something?
Yeah. So you're doing that middle ground. Then that line producer takes that kind of number and those expectations and gives it to the UPM and production supervisor, and it's like, these are your limitations. This is what needs to occur, and it falls on them to then hire the crew and do all the equipment packages and the permitting. Like all of that falls in those departments, and they track those numbers and make sure that that's happening at that level. So then they start to get crazy boots on the ground in that sense. So then under the production supervisor and UPM, sometimes you have both, will then be the production coordinator. So now your UPM and supervisor are like, hey, I just hooked up the camera package. It's going to cost, because they know what needs to be. This is what it is. The production supervisor then makes sure it happens. The production coordinator make sure it happens. So they're reaching out to the vendor, locking it, make sure the paperwork is done, make sure that insurance is covered, make sure that they have, now does transpo, okay, the camera's ready, who's picking up camera, when does it need to land, camera team now needs to prep it, when are we shooting, so camera team needs to go in there, does camera team know where that is, do they have lunch for the day, do they have, so the production coordinator is then overseeing the execution of it. Then assistant production coordinator is helping the coordinator in those like finicky, like very small things that might fall through the cracks.
Yeah, task by task, kind of like the operation.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it trickles down. Then
it's a lot of. It's just like, I don't know. To me, like I've heard directors and producers and a lot of people talk about how like making films a little bit like going to war, and like not that the stakes are quite as dire obviously, but in logistics and in like the idea of like assembling a team and having a mission and pushing everybody out there to go do it, that effort is similar. I think it's just like, it seems overwhelming.
It's really overwhelming when you look at the grand scheme all at once.
Right.
Thinking about everything that you have to do. And I think with this independent films and smaller projects, you have less money, so you might have less support. So when you talk about like permitting, things like that, it's like, oh, when I'm like on a Warner Brothers or Universal feature, we have locations, we have a permitting
whole
service.
department,
yeah, a whole department that will handle that, and like you hire department heads that you trust and know that what their job is to get that done. But when it's on your own and you're doing it and you're like, did you know that have you started your permit? Have you talked to SAG? Do you have an animal on set? Did you talk to the Animal Humane Society? Like all of those little back end pieces, you need to figure out kind of source, and also like how much are we following the lines? Like, am I getting a permit or am I shooting like
running and gunning, guerrilla style?
It's crazy. So like personally right now, like within the next 4 weeks, I'm working on a project. Yeah, that's like $5,000, like $3.5 million, and like $300 million. And they're all overlapping at the same. And then like maybe like.
So you're gonna have all scales.
The other one's like and $350,000.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So yeah, 5,000, 350,000, $3.5 million, and $300 million.
I like it. Keep it in those multiples of hundreds. That's great.
And so
well, let's talk about those scales for a bit, because like I feel like, and we can jump around as much as we want, like there's no format to this, but like, you know, I think, you know, you were touching on something, you know, about how, you know, when you have limited resources and you're, you know, because I want to, you know, if you're somebody who's like starting out and, you know, like an aspirational director, an aspirational producer, or somebody who, you know, like, all right, like we got like $5,000 we're able to scrape together, or 10 or something like that. What are some of the first considerations after you have script and creative kind of figured out? What are some of the first considerations you're making when you start breaking it out, you know, logistically?
So for that super tight budget.
And if you want to talk about the tight one and just use that as an example, that's fine.
I think maybe talking about this on a super small budget is the best, because then it just it's the most relatable, and it's what everyone starts out at. Yeah. Because once it it's more realistic. Location.
Well,
that's your number one. Location.
Where are we going to be?
Where are we going to film this?
How many locations do we have?
Yeah, that's going to be your biggest one.
Okay. And does it already exist, or do we need to build it?
Yeah, which super tight budget, you better have the keys to the place.
Yeah, exactly.
You
know the uncle who owns the warehouse, so you can slip in through the back door and kind of do that whole thing.
Having a location and location support is like the biggest the biggest thing ever. Because you want it to be like renting a stage, doing a build.
I mean, you're in $20,000 minimum. Minimum.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, out here in LA, they all know the film industry, so it's really hard to, unless you're tight with a location or you've used them before. Sometimes I can reach out to places because I've done bigger stuff with them and like asking a favor. But when you're starting on your own, it's working with scripts or realities of, what do I have? I guess it's kind of like screenwriting, like write about what you know.
But writing to the constraints that you know you're going to have.
Being realistic, with those things. So I think starting there is, location.
Okay, cool. And then gear and all that kind of stuff. Like most people, there's plenty of shops that you can just kind of do that.
Gear.
But I know gear can also kind of get like out of hand a little bit, because like there's probably a lot of stuff you don't really need but they're like nice to haves, and then there's things that you really do need that you don't think about, and then you're like, oh, I probably should have gotten this. Or
gear is next when you have a super tight script, budget wise, is hiring your department heads that are also super passionate about the project and are willing to sacrifice a little bit, and who have hookups to the gear because they own it themselves. So getting a DP that has their own camera equipment. Right. Getting a gaffer, which is the person in charge of lighting. Yes. They have their own equipment. Key grip has their own equipment.
Is that a pretty big like I'm not in the weeds as much on this. Is there like a pretty big community of like independent gaffers, independent cinematographers who they have their gear, like a plumber who has all their plumbing gear, or a carpenter who has all of his hammers and nails and things? Like, and you just kind of like hire them for that job, and they're just like, yeah, we're in, and then this is like what's going to cost.
Yeah, there is a network that you can, and you find that network of folks.
I would imagine the range of quality is also quite varied.
It is. Yeah. You find it honestly by doing it. So one of the ways you can do it is ShareGrid. The people who rent their equipment. So ShareGrid is a website where you can rent equipment for like 1 day to like weeks or months at a time, kind of thing. And sometimes the people who are renting that equipment, like they own it themselves.
Right.
So they might be a DP. So you might be able to like talk to them about being, I don't know, sure, like, I don't think they're listening, but like you could talk, I don't know, you don't make deals outside of it. Like you rent the equipment, but
you build rapport, and you get to know them, and
because a lot of people also want to make stuff too. Like there's so many people out there that
they have the gear, but they don't have a creative team to make it.
Like I've had someone reach out to me, and they're like, I have a camera package, a lighting package on standby. I'm ready to shoot it. I just want to make a feature, but I just don't have the content. And who hit up me and Daniel. Daniel and I don't know grammar. Daniel's my producing partner.
Yes. Shout out to Daniel.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel.
We should have him on too.
And
getting you two on together would actually be fun.
Oh my god.
At some point down the line.
Yeah, he's also shooting tomorrow on our other feature, and he's taking the lead on that, so he's running around doing things.
Wow.
But you want your creative heads to be really into the project and like support you and willing to kind of like take less maybe financially.
Sure.
And help out in the way they can, because then when it gets to the point of more of the like the grip or the electric or like sound department or things like that, people who aren't as creatively involved and they're just there to execute, for lack of better words, I always try to tell my directors or like producer, the people who are financially working on it, like, why can't we just get volunteers, or why don't they want to work for free, like da-da-da. I'm like, dude, low key, honestly, they don't care about your script.
Right.
Like you have to be realistic. The grip who's coming on this day, like just wants to go, like they're just here to like make their money, do their job, and like go home and like watch Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
Like we need to. You're gonna want to.
Well, they're financially incentivized to do a good job.
Yeah.
So like they're like, and if they're professionals, they're gonna execute on that, versus some kid who just like wants to say they've been on set and they're just like kind of there and taking Instagram photos and doing that whole thing.
Yeah. So there's a balance too, where you want people on, because that's so hard with super tight budgets. You are like, oh, you think you go back and forth, like, this is a great place for my friend who's always wanted to be a grip to learn how to be a grip. But also I'm in a position where I only have like $1,000 to spend on labor, and I have limited time,
right,
and I have limited crew, so I need someone who knows how to do all of the jobs, because I can't hire like 3 grips on this project. I can only hire like 1, and it's just like this weird thing where it's like, how do you invest your money into that? And then you kind of go back and forth between I can get free people and like volunteer because they've never done it before, but then when I'm on set and I have 5 people who've never been a grip before, and
there's mistakes are made, time's being wasted,
and time's being lost explaining what C-stand to grab and like where the sandbags, like the apple boxes, or like these terms that people are shouting out to move quick.
So would you, I guess, having been around a lot of that, like, would you advise people to, I guess I would say, like, if someone was saying like, I want to be on set, I want to learn a trade, like a gaffer or something like that. I don't have a lot of experience, in doing that, so I wouldn't probably be the right person to advise them on something. But it would sound like to me, I'd like to get your take on it, that, essentially when you're first starting out, like volunteering your time, learning, absorbing, doing a lot of that, and then sort of the tier or the kind of like next stage of that is buying some of your own gear, because then now you have sort of a portfolio of tools that you can add value to a small little production or something like that. And then that obviously helps build your reputation, somebody who's reliable, who has gear, who shows up on time, knows their job, that kind of thing. And through osmosis, then that's going to ultimately lead to, while those might not be like the high paying jobs, that's going to get you the experience and build the resume that will get you those jobs that are going to get you on a Marvel set, or going to get you on a network set or a Netflix show or something.
Yeah. I think so. I think.
Or maybe I'm completely wrong. You say, Luke, don't tell them to do that.
No, I think at the beginning, if you know you want to work in a certain department, I think it's weirdly putting yourself out there and offering your help and services to said position. So, for example, if I wanted to be a gaffer, I think I would look for, honestly, I think I would go on like ShareGrid and look up who is renting out lighting equipment, or if I want to be a grip, who's renting out grip equipment, and message.
Grip is electrical, right?
Grip is they're manipulating the light,
okay,
kind of thing, and like helping set that kind of stuff up. Learn both. Learn as much as you can, because then you respect the other departments better and understand where they're coming from, and it also helps the set run more smoothly. I think in this industry, as you get up into the studio world, again, you get so specialized that you can kind of forget about other people's space and world on the set, and then people are like, oh, that's not me, that's like, I don't care about that. Like,
right,
hair and makeup might only worry about their world, and then costumes only cares about their world, and then grips and camera only care about their world. But we are, as a producer, bird's eye view, we're all making something together, and I value and respect their love and devotion for their one world, and I'm hiring them, and they're hired to care about their one world. But then when it comes to us sharing a space on set and creating something together, everyone needs to be successful, and everyone needs to work together to make it happen. So there needs to be not so much like I'm more important than this group.
Right, yeah. I'm not concerned with that. It's not my department.
Yeah.
You talk to them about it.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that I've seen. I've heard people act that way on set.
I mean, I would imagine the best thing, I don't know, there's probably two different kinds of schools of thought. There's probably the types of sets where things are very siloed, where the departments might not all be talking to each other, but they're very, very hyper-focused on their one job. And then you probably have other sets where everyone's sort of cross-pollinating a little bit, so that way a lot of information's being shared. Maybe it could be a little bit more unfocused and organized that way, but it seems like that would yield a better understanding, of the project as a whole. And
yeah,
I don't know.
The more information that people have, the better that they can do their job and feel equipped, because everyone wants to do, the way I look at producing and kind of just life in general, is how can I make the person in front of me feel the best and be the most successful? What information, what resources, and what support can I offer them for them to do their job fully? Yeah. Because they want to leave feeling that they did their best too.
Yeah.
If you start the conversation with them already with, this is all you get, this is like, this is your budget, we're not having any changes. Yeah.
Work.
If you come in like that, they don't feel like they have an input or a stake in the project or the situation. When you approach people with, we're doing something together, this is like our baby, this is a collaborative process.
You're giving them ownership.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you want that, and I think
because everyone takes better care of things that they feel like they own. So
exactly.
Yeah. And
it's so when Daniel and I work on budgets and things like that, we know like how much things cost. We know things like that, like especially in the first kind of round on the expectations. but we also have conversations with our producers too. Like when they're like, why did this number change? We also know that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
So especially, for example, like special effects makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Like say there is like a big scar or like a gash or like a cut in the
Injury,
throat.
yeah, bullet
things
wound.
like that. I'm like, I think based on past projects that I've done, this is how much I think it's going to be. And then I'll give it to, because then down the road you're making budgets and like you're deciding this without,
They're estimates.
Yeah, they're estimates without any of this being like fully decided upon, even creatively what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you end up hiring the makeup artist, then they come on and you're like, this is the gash that we talked about. So then in my head I'm like, this gash would cost me $500 because like maybe they make multiples of it,
A little blood splurting or something.
Yeah. then my makeup artist talks to my director. The director shows them like pictures of what are their what does it look like, how long does this go for, when we make the schedule, oh wait, the way we broke up the scene, we're now shooting this gash over multiple days, so like now we need to change the schedule to condense that gash work.
Right.
So that's something we think about that we'll do later. But then it also is the makeup artist comes to us and is like, oh no, you said, do you think it costs 500? That really costs 1,000. So I'm not gonna then change the budget like, okay, it's 1,000, but then it becomes a discussion and conversation of like, okay, this is how much, where's a middle ground? And they're like, either when now they're like involved, like, okay, we can make it like instead of making it 5 inches, let's make it like 2 inches.
Shoot it from this direction.
Yeah. And then like, okay, now this gash is costing us $750, which then I'm like, maybe that was padded somewhere else in a certain thing.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah. It's a lot of negotiation and discussion.
It's a lot of it's a lot of negotiation and discussion, and it's again I just want anyone that I work with when they leave our set, I want them to like feel that they were appreciated, they were noticed, and that they had like input.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be like you're not coming and like doing all the creative inputs or things like that, but like that they're not just a working horse.
Yeah.
There is like expectations of like, yeah, this is how we're doing it and things like that. But there's, especially on these smaller ones, like you took the time of your day to come out for a cheaper rate or stuff like that. And this is it could be tough job. And and at the end we're making a gosh darn shorter movie.
Yeah.
We're not saving lives. We're not. Yeah.
That's a good frame of reference to kind of keep in mind whenever you're going on a creative endeavor. It's like, we're doing this for fun so people can enjoy it, or it's like this isn't life or death in most cases.
In most cases, yeah. Well, let's talk about stunts and that kind of
right. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So, gosh, I mean, like, there's just so many, like, I feel like avenues we could kind of take with like the whole kind of bootstrapping world, because I think it's really fascinating to me. I guess, like, to me. Yeah. One of the questions that I guess I would ask if I was somebody starting out, that's kind of where I try to like put my head when I ever think about these types of things, is like, if I have an aspiration to be a cinematographer, right? Or I have an aspiration to be a director, whatever, these highfalutin roles that, everybody wants, but they're obviously incredibly difficult to do at like a very high level,
Yes.
Would you say, I don't know, I think there's, what's kind of your school of thought on how to build that resume? I feel like there's sort of like the people who are like, I'm a director, I only direct things, that's what I do, and they do that, or they're cinematographers and that's what they do. And then there's people who are like, I just want to be on set, I just want to be around the game and play the game as often as possible. That means I'm doing lighting today, or I'm just a cameraman today or whatever. I'll do that job, and maybe I'll meet some people that will get me another gig, and are just kind of not a generalist, but they have their high tier aspiration, but then they're doing all of these kind of like what would be considered more like grunt jobs to build exposure.
I say, you got to get on you learn by gosh darn doing it.
Yeah.
So how do you go out and do it? So I think it's Staff Me Up is a website that you can go on and find jobs for like non-union
right
gigs. and like little quick stuff. So I'd recommend going on there. And then the other thing, kind of what I was starting off earlier, and I think I went on a tangent, is find people that do the job that you want to do, and who are in this more like intermediate level. So I keep going back because this is the only one I can think of right now. Going back to like ShareGrid, see who's renting out electric equipment or like grip equipment, and being like, oh, are you a gaffer, or are you a key grip, or are you grip? Like, is this weird? Like, I want to learn this. Like, can I?
Is that public? How do you see who's renting what?
Yeah, it's just like doing like an Airbnb rental or like a things
Oh,
like that.
got
So
it.
you go on
Okay.
and you like search for gear. So
Got
it's like
it.
sharegrid.com is like a place.
So it's people who, so it's independents who have gear and then they share. Okay, I didn't even know this site existed. This is cool.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, so ShareGrid is people who own the gear personally. Some rental houses are on there.
Yeah.
Like smaller rental houses are on there.
Yeah.
And renting gear out, but a lot of the times it's like your next
I
door
got an
neighbor.
ARIA camera. Do
Yeah.
you want it for a weekend or whatever?
Yeah, truly, like your next door neighbor might have like an RE camera in their house that they rent out. And so like it might sound bold and weird, but
Are
like,
they usually the operators of the equipment too, or do they?
No, they just rent it out. But if they own it, they know how to use it, and they probably are an aspiring DP, gaffer, grip, things like that. And I've been hit up by people. Like, I think it would be cool, and I would say yes to somebody who reached out to me. So if you reach out to someone's ShareGrid and like, I see that you rent out this equipment, do you happen to be a gaffer? I'm interested in learning this. Never done it before. Would you be open to when someone's returning equipment to you? I'm sure they take inventory of it again and make sure. Could I be there when you take inventory and like learn your gear and equipment?
Right.
Just like see what that is and like help you put it away. And maybe you do that for free, or like they like buy you lunch kind of thing. Like, and can I help you organize your stuff? And like maybe you make a relationship with this person where like now this person who, when they have jobs as a gaffer or on a thing, they're like, oh, I'm gonna bring this person on with me because they know my gear and I need to bring someone, and like I think that might be kind of a cool way to learn low stakes, that kind of stuff. So you're like, hey, if you ever need help putting this stuff away, I could come and help if you cover my lunch. Or
You said something that I think is really wise, and I'm going to expound upon a little bit, which is low stakes, which is like, you know, like when I was a kid, I would have loved to be like on a Star Wars set. Like that would have been like my dream, right? Like be like on there and like watching the little Yoda puppets or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a very high stakes environment, and you don't want to expose yourself to that environment before you're ready for it, I would think. So I think finding opportunities to do it where, you know, you are doing like a little independent music video, or you are doing like a little, you know, short film for a student or something like that, where you can learn how to be valuable and how make some mistakes in this environment where when the opportunities do come up to do something at a bit of a higher level, you can. And I think that's valuable advice.
Yeah, maybe doing, depending on where you live. So again, I don't know. Yeah, this is also maybe easy in LA.
Yeah, this is very LA specific. Maybe Georgia, but
yeah, Georgia.
Probably LA.
If there's a film school or a university or a community college near you, looking up to see if they have a film program, and you don't go there, but you like look up your local community college. Do they offer a film school or a film class? And then reaching out to the professor or something and being like, if part of your curriculum is people making films, like for example like AFI, how do you volunteer on their sets? Because they all need volunteers to help make these projects, right? So maybe that's like a great way to do it. And I mean, when I volunteered on the AFI film when I first moved to LA, never worked on a set before, didn't know how to use a walkie, didn't know the hierarchy of anyone, like truly, totally green. That's where I met.
Everybody starts there.
Everyone starts there. That's where I met Daniel, and that's where I met the first AD on that I worked with them on another AFI project for free, and then she hired me on an independent film as like their base camp PA and stuff. And then I started working on sets, and then I was working on union sets, and I realized I didn't want to be. When you're a set PA, that means you're working towards being maybe a first or a second AD. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to be a producer. Mm-hmm. So then I moved into the office world.
Yeah.
But then I would go back and forth between set and office because it is also kind of crazy or funny to see decisions made by people who work in the studio world or who are producers make decisions that really affect set or scheduling or how things run. I'm like, that's not realistic. Oh, right. You've never
done that job before.
You've never, oh, damn.
Yeah.
You never worked on set before.
Right.
One, props to you for making it this far and not having to like be on set before. Don't know how you did that.
Right.
Oh, I know how you did that, but
yeah. Had an uncle.
But yeah, you just
make
know,
a phone call.
Yeah, like I've not saying I hope no one ever has to do this, but I've like slept in working trucks before on location because we didn't have a security guard and we were in a sketchy spot and we were scared our equipment was gonna get stolen, so I slept in the working truck as a security guard.
Yeah.
I've slept on location.
I have before too.
Yeah.
And I think it was a night shoot, and you're like, you need to get some rest. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
So I just slept in the truck for a couple hours.
I've slept on location, on hot sets, to also watch the gear and like make sure that stuff like that was happening.
Is theft a concern? Do people come around and try to grab stuff?
It's not a concern, but it's not one that you want to risk, especially when your insurance.
Yeah,
it's my insurance.
You don't want to leave a $500,000 camera just laying around.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want it laying around. But yeah, you want to be safe and make sure that stuff doesn't. Yeah. Knock on wood, I haven't had things stolen, things like that.
Right.
But on bigger sets, like generators or things have gone disappearing, so you end up getting.
Generators are always getting stolen. Those are valuable because anybody can use them.
Yeah.
Not everybody needs a camera, but everyone needs a generator for something.
Yes. Yeah, you like car. I've been transpo. I've loaded up. We couldn't bring out. I did a shoot like out in the desert. We didn't have dumpsters on site. We couldn't throw our trash away. So at the end of the night,
just because there was an oversight, or you couldn't do it because of where you were.
Where the location was, I couldn't. It was too expensive to like have a dumpster brought out there. We were like shooting out in.
So how do you get rid of waste?
You save all the trash in trash bags at the end, and you put it in the trunk of your car when you wrap, and you drive to a gas station with somebody else, and you look for you look for spots knowing that you're going to have to do this one night. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't lock their trash cans?
Right.
Then you drive to those gas stations or those grocery stores in the middle of the night and you offload and you run off.
Yeah.
And you hope that one of those bags do not rip in your trunk.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, so you...
That's great.
And that's how you save like $750.
Yeah. So that's sort of like the independent world. We can talk more about it if we want. I'm curious about some of like your big studio experiences, like on some of the bigger projects that you've worked on, and how it was, and on the people that you met, and like kind of the whole world of a big studio like movie.
Yeah. So once you start working on big studio movies, it's
and you got there because the people that you worked with, obviously, who were like either department heads or whatever, knew you on those smaller projects, and they kind of brought you with them, right, in most cases.
Yeah. So when I was doing like the Fox comedies, I like bounced. You end up following the producer or the line producer or the production coordinator, because essentially they are in charge of hiring their department. And if you've worked with them before and they like you, when they get a job, then they want to like bring their team along. So it kind of becomes this. That's why it's always
like a rodeo or like a circus, essentially.
So they always end up making like the same it's the same teams that travel along.
Yeah.
So once you find someone that they like you, then they bring you along for everything that they do.
Yeah.
So I went from when I did like Speechless, we went from like Speechless to Making History to Dice, Arrested Development, and then It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, I did like a blind interview for a feature, which I interviewed for like production secretary, like a non-union job, because she already had an assistant production coordinator. But then that person ended up having to drop out, so she's like, "Oh, you are technically in this union 871. Would you want to bump up?" And I was like, "Nah, sure." Then I followed them. Yeah, so then I followed them for a little bit and did features, and that was like Annabelle, King Richard. What did I do after King Richard?
You were in TENET after King Richard, weren't you?
Oh yeah. Then I did TENET. Then came back. Finished. I think I finished King Richard. I can't. Dude, yeah, that.
Well, King Richard shut down because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And then you were on hiatus for a while, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, hiatus for a while. Then did COVID timelines that. Yeah, TENET. Then we just did.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I was just in New Mexico for 6 months doing Oppenheimer.
Yes.
But yeah, with those bigger name ones, I'm an assistant production coordinator. And so I'm doing a lot of the executing, which is cool in the sense that I know from that job I've learned what needs to be done and how it is done. Yeah. So when I work on smaller films and projects, I'm like going through my head of like, have we done this? Have we done this? Have we done this? And like I know how to go out and do it myself.
And on those bigger studio environments, I would imagine there's a lot more of what's the right word? Not permitting, but just like kind of like red tape or like hoops or whatever.
So
like, you know, like you got to make sure you're like compliant with union requirements and you're compliant with, you know, work hours and OSHA and like all these other like compliance issues that kind of come up throughout that process, I would imagine.
Correct. So, and those jobs, those big studio jobs, I'm not involved in the making those decisions or things like that. Like that's like way over my head, which is nice. I don't have to deal with that.
But you've had exposure to it. Now you know how to apply that and be resourceful in smaller things, which is great.
Yeah. So then I know I know the expectations of the studio world, which is fun with my producing partner, Daniel, who comes from guerrilla filmmaking, student films, stuff like that, where he's a little bit more like, do we have to? And I'm like, oh my God, we have to.
It's good you guys have those competing skill sets though, because he's probably, you know, needs to get creative with budget, and you need to make sure everything's safe and gonna work out, and you know we're not gonna get a ticket for something or whatever.
Yeah. So my biggest fear in life is being yelled at by an adult as an adult. Like
same.
I'm very scared of like someone coming up to me and like, ma'am, you're like, I know, I'm not supposed to do this. I know I'm not supposed to, like, I'm like, I don't like double parking. I don't like being late to a reservation. I don't like disappointing like someone who's older. Like this really weird thing. Like,
yes.
So that
I suffer from the people pleasing problem too.
So yeah, such people pleasing. So that being the case, when it comes to filmmaking, I think that's my downfall as a very tight budget producer.
Right. Because
I'm like, I want a budget for that. I want to plan for that. I want to. Rather than the people are like, we don't need a permit. Like, we can just really run and gun it. And I'm like, oh my God.
You're just like stressing out in the van, just like watching the gear. You're like, we need to go.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm totally like trying to be like cool girlfriend, like, oh, I'm totally into this. Like, I'm so, this is totally fine. And I'm just like dying inside.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, finding that middle ground and making it comfortable for everyone.
No, it's good. I think and having that experience, at least you know where those boundaries lie, where somebody who doesn't have that experience probably doesn't. So that makes you very versatile too, because you can step into either of those environments and be, you know, helpful. Because you know, like on a big $100 million project, like what is expected, right? So you kind of know like how that goes. And then when you're on something smaller, you know that it's a different beast, and you know there's different qualities to it. So.
And it's kind of interesting, humbling, stress relieving. That sometimes I hear the issues that these $100 million, $300 million projects are having issues with. I'm having the same discussions
Right.
on this $3,000, $5,000 project.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. So it's literally
It's the same things, more money and more
we're
time.
doing they just have higher stakes because they have like more red tape or like bigger names or more agents or managers or
Right.
hoops to jump through but then on the other end they have other people to help them execute it and get it done.
Yeah.
And they have like a legal team, a risk management team, a locations department, a cast contracts person.
Yeah.
To do the execution part of that problem solving.
Yeah.
Or on your super small budgets.
It's just
all right, you have the problem. Now you actually have to write those emails, follow up with the paperwork.
Yeah.
That's where it takes a lot of the time in doing that. And I think as a independent producer, when you start making everything from the ground up, the more you do and like learn about the other positions and roles, the more respect and appreciation you have for when those people come on to help you and support you. It just gets better.
What do you have an attraction to one world versus the other when it comes to making projects? Like, are you more attracted to the studio environment and the resources they have, or are you more attracted to like the independent, like kind of creative, more having to be like more resourceful kind of environment?
Definitely the independent, being more resourceful. I love the best feeling is day one of a shoot. The first shot goes off, and your director and the writer, or like the director, like someone is at the monitor, and like seeing their face be like, it's happening.
Yeah, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was behind getting all of that there for them.
Okay.
I don't view myself as, I can't write a script.
I think you could, but
I can't. I don't want to.
But you don't want to.
I don't want to write a script.
Yeah.
I do not want to write a script. Interior, ballroom, oh my God, what that? No. No. But I can help punch up a script and like help direct it and like do things like that.
Yeah.
I love being a part of that process and making it happen. And so on smaller projects, you get to get more hands-on, at least in my position, because I'm an actual producer on that.
Right.
I get to like really be there.
Yeah.
From its turning like 10 pieces of paper into a set.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
That is crazy.
Being able to like someone can hand me their script and I can tell them how to make this tangible, how much it will cost them, how many days, things like that. It's so fun for me. On the bigger studio jobs, I get to execute somebody else's stuff, I guess. So those decisions have already been made creatively. Right. I'm just there for seeing it through to the end. And that's completely invaluable in regards to how I do my job on these independent films, because I know the expectations and like those kind of things, and it's lower stakes for me. Yeah. Because
you don't have as much personally invested in
exactly.
it. So it's
man, no.
Somebody's literally just paying me to do a job. I'll do the job. I'll be there every day.
Yeah, I was like, I will check your PRs. I'll do those Gs. I will send out the call sheet. Like, yeah. It's now almost like to kind of turn that brain off. Yeah. For a little bit after doing the big project.
It's funny to me that like a big studio, like $300 million project to you is like lower stress. I'd be so stressed out. I'd be like, Christopher Nolan's going to like hate me. It was just like, I can't live with this guilt.
No, homie don't know my name.
Yeah. I know.
He's, but yeah, it is, there's still so much to get out of it. And definitely the studio jobs that I've had, I've met positions and people before that I've called in favors on these smaller kind of projects and in these middle ground projects. Like I just found out for this like $3.5 million project that I need a video playback in 2 days that I didn't think about at all. And how did I get someone to do that? I hit up one that worked with me on Annabelle and King Richard. Nice. And I gave him a call and I was like, yo, dude, need your help. Can you come in for this? He's like, I'm there. He's like, great to work
That's
for you
great.
again. Would love to see that. And like, I would not have been able to do that without having those studio jobs.
Yeah, well, going back to the very beginning of the conversation is like it's about like the relationships and making people feel good on set, and like you know, because if people like you, they will want to keep working with you. Because for as many wonderful, lovely people there's some curmudgeons and some people who are a little grumpy too. So you want to avoid want to maximize the good people that you're working with, and I think that's great. Yeah. You want to do some story time?
Story time?
Yeah, like you've been on some really cool sets. I don't know if there's any stories that you like or care to share. Like, Always Sunny, a very popular show. I know you love those guys over there. King Richard obviously was an Oscar darling and did but I would imagine with the COVID of it all, that was kind of a tough period to kind of work through that.
Yeah.
And then Tenet, I'm sure was crazy.
We got stories about that one. Can I be honest? Can we do a bathroom break?
Yeah, we can do a bathroom break. We'll do a bathroom break and then we'll come back.
I have a small bladder.
Do it. Come on. Don't worry about it.
Thanks. Bathroom break.
Go. Woo! Saved it.
Can I just say I saw the greatest thing in your guys' bathroom? That got me super stoked, and I'm going to be having that in every bathroom that I work in from now on.
What's that?
The mouthwash.
Oh, yeah.
There's mouthwash and like little Dixie cups in there.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Maybe in a dentist's office, I don't know.
Yeah, dentist's office, but yeah, low key, just use it, feeling good. But that's something great to have. When bathrooms have hand lotion and like the tampons, now mouthwash is gonna be something that.
Especially if you're on set or whatever, you're not always gonna have a toothbrush by your side, so a little freshen up.
Yeah, that's really nice. So thank you. Daniel, we're gonna add mouthwash to the budget.
Some Listerine up in this bitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for letting me use the bathroom. Story time. I mean, I'm trying to think of what kind of stories I'm allowed to share too.
Yeah. Also, of course, want to be respectful of that. I'm very curious about the Always Sunny set, just because it seems like it's a very fun show. I would imagine the environment is pretty fun as well, and everyone's working really hard. But they've got that show down to a science where they're like on their 14th season or something like that.
Dude, I think it's like 16 or 17.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. So they've got down to a science for sure.
Yeah.
And they're able to, because it's usually just like one or two locations. It's like the apartments and like the bar, right? And then obviously different things as the stories go on, but for the most part, as most sitcoms are, it's like relegated to a handful of different things, and I don't know. It just seems like a fun environment to me. So
for sure,
I don't know, when you got there, what you were expecting it would be like versus what it was actually like.
I definitely remember my first day working on set.
Were you a fan of the show before you got the job, or did you know about it?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely knew about it. Didn't watch it like a bunch, but my boss, Danielle Fontaine, Danny, she brought me on because I worked with her on a previous show, and she brought me on as her production. Was I a production coordinator or assistant production coordinator on? I think so. Yeah. I was, I think, on that one. And before that, I was I was an office PA like twice and stuff. And my boss before her always got us computers. So they would rent from like the Fox lot so then you worked on their computers and then stayed there. So I was like, okay. So I remember I showed up the first day to Sunny, and everyone was on laptops, and I was like, do I need a laptop for this job? She was like, I was like, I don't, because she knew my old boss. I'm like, dude, KB always booked us stuff. I was like, I gotta go home. She's like, go home and go get your stuff. I was like, I'll be right back. And I was so awkward and embarrassed. And I was like, I'm such a dweeb. I'm such a noob.
Yeah.
But she was a great boss, and that was a great group to work with. Because at that point, they did. Yeah, they were like season like 13 or 14, or whatever.
Yeah.
Such a well-oiled machine. A lot of people have been there since the beginning.
Yeah. So you're kind of coming into something that's already like moving. It's a moving train. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were shooting TV. It's like maybe like 5 days. 5 days, like an episode or something.
That's
and
quick.
There's different
turnaround.
types. Yeah, there's different types of shooting. So you'll do terminology like block shooting, or like where you're like cross boarding. So like you know your whole season's maybe like pre-written, and so you're like crossing kind of episodes. Maybe
One director will do a certain block of episodes, and another director will come out and do another block of episodes.
Yeah, so maybe like they're signed on for like 3 episodes, so like you'll shoot all their stuff and things like that. And so what I like about TV is you're always prepping, shooting, and wrapping something at the same time, which is kind of fun.
Oh, I never
so like
thought about that.
You just like so you shot last week episode 2 or whatever, so you're wrapping out that one or getting them. Then they're shooting on the stage right now, episode 3, and then the director for episode 4 is down the hall prepping and getting ready for that one.
Yeah, it's almost like an assembly line, like it's just like here we go.
Yeah, so it's like that, and yeah, the crew on that show is just like their family.
Yeah,
I think in the television world, that's why people love TV, working in TV.
Yeah, because they see the same people probably fairly often.
And it's like a consistent job. It's more steady because you know it's going to come back. Yeah. It's the same kind of motions, and you just like build this world where you're like, this could be something that I work on for like
10 years.
10 years, yeah. And this is my job.
Yeah.
And with Sunny, yeah, like you said, there's sometimes a few sets. So I remember days we'd be shooting, and like set would wrap at like 3 p.m, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess production, like, the office is still going to be open till like 5 or 6 because business are still open. If it's just the gang in the bar, they are like such professionals, so good. They just like can like shoot a whole episode in like 3 days.
Yeah.
They're just like,
oh, I bet, especially like Rob and Charlie. I mean, I would imagine they're pretty tight because Rob writes a lot of it too, right?
I think they all write. Yeah, I think
they all write.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like creating the material, and then they're just performing it, so they already know it because they wrote it. So it's like, it's just like a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, and those people have such a respect and appreciation for the crew.
Yeah.
That there doesn't feel like there's like a hierarchy, or like when they walk on set, like eyes down.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
bow.
Yeah. It's fun to go to work.
Yeah.
Like I've been on shows. I've worked before where like I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go right now. Like if I couldn't go to work, like I feel like I'd have FOMO. Like I'd come in the next day and like something fun happened, like in the office with my friends.
Well, the other thing that I was just the thought just occurred to me just now, and I can't believe I haven't thought about before, was that Sunny's also very unique in that like the creators are also the performers, in that like typically in most shows, right, you have like the showrunner, you have like the writing staff, and you have like the performers, and there's constantly discussion about like scene work, right? Like, well, what's this character motivation? What's this, where is this character going? Why are they saying this dialogue this way instead of this way? Versus like in their environment where they're going to be the ones performing it, they're already answering all of those questions. So those discussions don't even really need to happen. I mean, maybe to some like a certain smaller degree. Yeah. Like just like, okay, you stand here instead of here, but largely like they don't need to have those discussions because they're self-generating and performing. So it's like a closed loop. Yeah,
and I think in kind of response to that, like a perfect example is, I think the way that Rob handled his character of Mac, when he went to Fat Mac.
Fat Mac, yeah.
Like the idea of
looking shittier as you get more successful.
Yeah, that whole thing of like in reality, like in that character wouldn't get hotter throughout time, like the way that he acts and eats and his character behaves. Yeah. But in the real world, when we see celebrities take off their career, they get hotter and cooler and like more suave.
Different clothes and whatnot.
Yeah, and then their character somehow also like increases their looks because off camera, but he was like, no, like my character.
I remember watching Friends and seeing David Schwimmer just getting incrementally hotter. I'm like, he's the dweeb. Why does he look so good?
Yeah.
He's looking jacked.
So I think that's something special about that show. Is like they know like how true they are to the storyline, to the characters, to their fan base.
Yeah.
That homie was eating like chimichangas every day or something to like
insane.
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics. Like I don't like had like a one-on-one conversation with Rob about that, but like
it's interesting to me.
Knowing that it stems from there, like the finale where he does like that great water dance scene.
Right, where like I'm gay thing.
That was.
Were you there for that?
Yeah, so I was there for that one.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
He spent so much time in rehearsals outside, like practicing and like getting ready.
And
like,
it looks awesome. I mean, it came out so well.
It was a whole thing. Like one of like, a really weird, I guess, like kind of like small behind the scenes thing about that is for the rehearsals they had practice all the time. Like when we were done shooting, we had to get towels for them for like because it was waters. We couldn't turn around towels fast enough
because they're just getting soaked every take.
So like, washing and like drying and like getting them laundered and stuff like that, and like having a pee on standby just to do laundry, like insane. It was cheaper to buy towels like every day
than to wash them.
And then we like donated them to a local like puppy shelter
that
like needs.
Wow. That's like, so cute.
Danny was like, I don't know what to do with all these gosh darn towels. Like we can't have someone here doing
like
laundry.
Hundreds of towels.
So we like would donate the towels to like local like animal shelters to like use for.
That's so cute.
So like that's something.
I love that though.
So that's a fun story about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I guess Tenet.
Well, can we talk about Richard first?
Richard? we can talk about King Richard.
That was shot in Glendale. Where was that shot?
All over LA.
Yeah.
Because we had to do a lot of.
Because Williams sisters are from LA originally.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so they did a lot of location shoots, and then like the tennis courts as well. We had to do with COVID and stuff a lot of CGI. We shot down. Yeah.
What with the CGI?
Like the crowd scenes.
Oh, because you couldn't have crowds.
Yeah, COVID with crowds. I think they had to do. I think they had to do like a lot of that. Like we wouldn't have like huge background days. So there's some big background days, but that one was interesting. Yeah, because we shot it, then had to shut down for like a year, and then
come
we
back.
Shut down like March, like when everyone else did, and then
like that one also I would imagine that had to be a little bit of a concern because you're dealing with young girls and young boys change as they do. So especially when they're like 13 to 14 or whatever. I don't know what their ages were, but I imagine that was a concern.
Yeah, coming back.
And you're shooting out of order too, so.
Yeah, continuity with that. Not sure. That was, I know, a discussion that was happening with the higher ups, and not sure how that conversation went. But a concern was how long can we shut down before our lovely cast continue to blossom throughout life.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something to think about, which I think they handled very well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell when watching it. I mean, so that a year passed.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. I wasn't really looking for it.
That was a really good one to work on as well I guess just like going through COVID.
And you were coordinator on that one? Or you were
assistant coordinator?
Assistant coordinator?
Yeah,
okay.
Assistant coordinator also on that one too.
So what was your primary tasks on that?
On that one, it is like doing production reports, checking G's, executions of like paperwork formality kind of things like that. If anyone has like a question,
I'm gonna push this a little closer to you.
Oh yeah, if anyone has questions about how stuff gets done and what needs to happen, or they usually call the production office, and it's our job to know who to talk to or the answers to that. So being aware of everything and everyone's schedules.
You're a conduit of information.
Yeah. I've tried to like figure out, joked about this too, like the holidays, like good luck to everyone in the film industry trying to explain what you do.
Right. It's hard because it's like, because to the public, like they only know what they see, and what they see is like actors, directors. They probably vaguely know what a producer does, but anything outside of those worlds, it's probably like, I don't know, like.
Yeah, tracking agreements and like
then you
related party rentals, like these
right,
words.
yeah, but then you watch the credits and you're just like, holy shit, there are 4,000, 5,000 people worked on this thing. Yeah.
And I've probably typed all their names somewhere.
Yeah.
Or at least not post I don't do. But I'd probably type their name into a crew list of some sort, or on some sort of Exhibit G, or a Station 12. These are just all, or a Taft Hartley or some sort of thing like that.
Wow. It's crazy.
Trying to think of...
Well, Tenet, there's the big story, which I don't know if is public that we can talk about.
No.
Okay. Never mind. We'll edit it out.
Yeah, that was Luke. We're homie. That was me venting to you.
All right, no problem. We'll edit it out.
But Tenet was, I think Tenet's the perfect example of a shoot where the job, if you're not working with people that you like, then it's just definitely the worst thing in the world. I just in that one, it was just a lot to do in a little bit amount of time.
Well, I don't think it's any secret that like the Nolan camp runs a pretty like efficient camp. Like it's like pretty rigorous, you know, like it's not like all fun and games. Like they try to cut as much bloat out of, because the budget's already so high, so they're trying to like consolidate as much as possible. Right.
Yeah, I think
not like in a way that's like abusive, but just like it's they try to keep it like as lean as possible.
They make their days and they'll do whatever it takes to make their days, and you're really challenged to get it done, and you sleep amazingly afterwards when it wraps.
Yeah.
But that is a great example of I remember like trying to like quit like 3 times.
Really? She's like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do it. I was only there for like a little bit of time. It was just a lot in a little bit of time that had to occur, and I didn't have some of the support I needed, and that's why.
And that's a pretty global shoot. Where were you with?
What
unit were you part of?
I only did when they did the airplane hangar scene.
Really? Just that sequence?
That one, and then the end battle scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was shot down, in
crazy.
Southern California. So that a bunch of, I was part of that, and I was doing like housing and travel, like the travel of that one. But that was like hundreds of crew members and hundreds of background, which 2 people, me and this wonderful woman named Ariana, and then when I threatened to quit, they sent me out, my old boss Holly, to help support me. So 3 of us handling all of that kind of stuff was a lot. I do have a photo that I saved in my phone of me in the mirror of a hotel room with a glass of wine, being like, "This is the night I tried to quit.
We're done.
This is the night I sent the email. Don't ever take a job for the money if you're gonna lose your mental state."
That's a fair comment.
That's my reminder photo.
Okay.
When I saw my face and I like lost like 14 pounds in a month.
Wow.
From like stress, because I get.
But I mean, now being on the other end of it, are you glad you stuck it out?
Oh, for sure. I'm so glad I stuck it out, because I learned a lot from it. I learned how much I can take. I had learned how to set boundaries. Yeah,
build resilience.
Yeah, build resilience. Don't wish that upon anyone in that state. But it was, I'm just very happy that I was my like close net of people on that project when like ish was hitting the fan.
Right.
That I had a good support group to get me through it.
Yeah. Again, going back to people, working with people that you can trust and count on and enjoy working with.
Yeah, that's crucial. Crucial for this stuff.
That's the theme.
That's my theme. That's the biggest one.
That's good. Anything we can say about Oppenheimer, or is it all under wraps?
All under wraps, baby.
Cool.
I'm trying to think if there's ones that I don't want to get in trouble.
No, we don't want to get you in trouble.
But
this is a celebration of you, not a gossip column or anything.
Yeah. Meeting. Okay, I've never get starstruck.
I was gonna say you do have a bit of a crush on somebody, don't you? Is this a story about that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never been like one like goo gaga over anyone.
Yeah.
But for somehow I've realized that I've had the same crush on the same celebrity since I was like 10 or 11. And it's like streamed together that I've seen so many of his weird movies that I didn't realize was the same person.
Okay.
And it was Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. I mean, he is a beautiful man.
Oh, yeah. It's like that chiseled jawline, those deep eyes, like
That accent.
The accent, and this sort of thing where it's like, I don't know if you're going to like make like, okay, probably way TMI. I don't know if like you're going to like make love to me right now or murder me, but I'm into either one. Like,
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got get that crazy mode.
Yeah. So those kind of characters, I've like weirdly. I think that's also why I love like my favorite genre, is psychological thrillers.
He was in a movie that was really small that I really loved called Red Eye.
Okay. Yeah. So Red Eye.
And it's like he literally pulls that off where they're like kind of like flirty and like hitting on each other, and then he's like,
but I might. Yeah.
But I'm gonna probably kill you.
So Red Eye was a movie when I watched as a kid and realized I was like attracted to this person.
Yeah.
Disco Pigs, one of his like one of his early films.
Is that the one where he's in drag?
He's not in drag, but he's like next door neighbors with this girl his whole life, and they have like this unhealthy like relationship of like always being together and like being like lovers, but like she like wants to go off and do her own thing, and he's like really attached to it.
Okay.
And then realizing I'm like, oh yeah, I've always been like his movie.
So this has been a fixture in your life.
Yeah, this like this weird figure. And then looking back, I remember I even like dated a guy that looked just like.
Really?
Yeah, there was a little bit where I had this. Yeah, there was a guy that I was like, oh my god, you look like.
So you have a type.
Yeah, I have a type.
Blue-eyed Irishman.
Which Robbie is not. That's
okay.
But Robbie did get a call one night from me saying, I need to go check in Cillian at his hotel tonight at 10 p.m. So if I don't come home, you know where I am.
You know what happened. I'm just being honest and upfront about it.
Work is calling. I need to be there. And he's like, oh my God.
And he knows this about you, obviously.
Yeah.
So he's just like, oh boy.
He was like, oh my God. I was like, honey, work is calling. I got to be there.
Yeah.
That was my fangirl moment. I totally chill up front.
Yeah.
Here's your key, blah, blah, blah. Here's your stuff. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice, gentle, sweet man. Came straight from set, so like probably exhausted as well.
Sure.
But yeah, that was.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that was just like my.
I never know. Kind of I haven't met too many people that like I like truly admire yet. So like like who are public, like a known person, and but the few times where it has come up where like the opportunity has come up, it's just like I don't know what to say. I don't want to bother them. They're doing their thing. Like they don't need to know that I love them. They know lots of people love them. Like I don't know. Like And I get caught. I was actually in a situation yesterday where it was just like he's like a YouTube guy, but he does really good work. Mm-hmm. And he's just like on the street, he was just talking to his wife or whatever. And they were like, we were crossing the street at the same time. I'm like, I know who that is. But like by the time the thought entered my head, like clocked him, like he was already like walking that way. I was walking this way. I was just like, hey, what do you think? It's just like,
you can't.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. But that's cool.
Yeah. There's been just like a few that I've met. And you just learn at the end of the day, like they're also like they're also just humans and just want to go home.
They're people just like us.
Yeah, they're just like us. I mean, like John Hamm is just like us. You like learn their schedules and like what they like to do, and he's very very sweet and like funny and eats lunch with the crew, and
that's cool. I really like that actually. I know there's a couple actors who do that. It's just like I think it's neat because I feel like I heard Tom Cruise in an interview talk about this, or maybe somebody asked him or something like that, because like the director is obviously like they're like the commander in chief of like the operations of what's going on creatively on the set, but he's saying there's like the lead is like, I don't know how I phrase it, but I'm going to paraphrase, whereas like the lead's kind of like the captain of the football team, like they're not necessarily always calling the shots, but like they like are like they can do a lot for morale or make morale a pain, because if the actors aren't happy, then just like nobody's having a good time. So it's just like because then, you know, like if the scenes aren't working or whatever. And so in Tom Cruise's case, like he just kind of goes out of his way to like get to know as many people as possible. He's usually producing on a lot of the movies he does now, obviously, but you know, he's, I think, a good example of somebody like that. So I don't know.
I would say
We'll have him on the podcast next week.
we'll have him on. I would say Will Smith is like that as well.
Is he?
Yeah,
he's been doing it for so long. I mean, he's just been a pro forever.
Yeah, like my position also, usually when I'm an assistant production coordinator, I'm not interacting with like cast in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not on set. Sometimes it depends on who the.
But he produced that one too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Or Westbrook did.
Yeah, Westbrook did. His company, but I have to go to set sometimes, and I remember like we were doing a camera test. So before the shooting starts, you do a camera test, and then you'll bring in like the makeup artist and the costumes and
wardrobe,
and just like kind of test out the gear, make sure it looks right, test out any of the prosthetics you're gonna be using, like have them move around, like did that look good, like do we need to make adjustments before on the day you find out like the wig falls off when he like shakes his head. And in the morning, like they have like breakfast served, like getting breakfast next to him, like we're in line, and like takes the time like to all the crew members saying good morning, like what do you do on the shoot, like thank you for being here.
It makes the difference. Yeah,
it is. And then we would do like we always do like $5 Fridays.
$5 Fridays.
$5 Fridays are on set. We do like everyone throws in like $5, or like you can throw in $5 like raffle tickets, and then at the end someone gets drawn and they get to keep the whole pot.
That's fun.
So sometimes they would do match the pot. So then this might, like if the whole crew puts in like $2,000, then they would match it and someone would win $4,000. But then like sometimes he would throw in like a trip to Vegas or like all these like random
really
things.
Spruce it up.
Yeah. So then on Fridays he's like, all right, it's $5. Yeah.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, that's not too dissimilar from like corporate environments where like they'll have like, you know, for sales teams like a giveaway package or something. Like it does do a lot for motivation. I don't know why, but it works.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It is. It's fun.
Again, it's just you want to work on a set where you feel good about what you're doing and like you feel like you have the tools, the support, and the stuff that you need to get your job done right.
Yeah.
So you're not like pushing a boulder up the hill the whole time. So when you're on set or working in production, how can you support everyone so that they feel their best? Yeah.
So, I mean, what's kind of like your target? Like what are you aiming for? Kind of like if we look at like a 5 or 10 year time horizon, what would you like to be doing?
So I want to be
I mean, you said producer.
Producer, yeah. I want to be producer. I'm actually working on this other side project right now. Mm-hmm. It's called like Film Girls Girls Brunch. You probably saw me post about it a few times on Instagram.
We'll put a link in the bio.
I've started a community of like femme aligned individuals in Los Angeles.
I cannot join.
Yeah, cannot join.
So it's an exclusionary group. You exclude people.
I exclude people. really much into excluding people. And it's a group of like women film makers that want to make content but like don't know how to, just like networking, things like that. Mm-hmm. That's actually where I came from this morning, was getting a brunch with one of the people who helps me do it, and we were kind of talking about our strategy for what we want out of this for 2023 and like going forward. And right now what we do is we meet once a month in different places in LA and grab brunch with people who want to make movies or shorts and stuff, and like also want to make new friends, because making friends as an adult is so hard and like awkward and uncomfortable.
Well, it used to be back in the playground, it used to be like, hey, you want to play with my ball? And they're like, yeah, I'll play with your ball. And then you just like throw the ball back and forth. Now I don't have a ball. Yeah,
I don't have. It's like, we're friends because we sit next to each other in math class. So like, I don't have math class anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't want to be friends with just my coworkers, because I'm like, I just hung out with you guys all day.
Right, exactly.
I want something else. So we just had our third one where we just pick a different spot in LA. So that also helps people like learn about new areas.
That's so too. Great. Yeah.
And then we just get together for like 2 hours, and it's like a low key thing. You just come, hang out. Yeah. And then everyone there is somehow working in like want to make like different things. And so it's been nice to like after these events, people hit us up and say like, oh my God, I met this person and they hired me on their short, or like I'm doing this, or we're working on this together. Just like it was nice to get out of my house.
Yeah.
And from there, trying to grow that. I want to make filmmaking tangible and accessible for as many people as possible, and like you don't need to just do big studio jobs.
Yeah.
So we are trying to next step figure out a way to do like screen, like how do we screen projects, because then people make shorts,
Yeah.
right, or proof of concepts, and then they
Yeah.
hold on to it like, now what do I do with
There's
it?
something, yeah, I want to talk because like there's short filmmaking is definitely a cool art form, and I don't know why, but it just hasn't really found like its place in like the cultural zeitgeist. Nobody just like watches shorts. Like there's not like too many forums where they occur outside of like the festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would love there to be like a format or a network or a streamer or somebody that can tackle, elevate it to a level where it is professional, but still kind of like, but has all the qualities of like this like bootstrapping kind of thing, because that's what makes them special in a lot of ways. Because like, wow, it's so good, and you're like, they made it for $5,000. Like what? Like it's crazy. Like that makes it so much more impressive.
Yep.
And I think that there's definitely an avenue to do that. I just don't know what it is. I don't have the resources or I haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, I just think it's a really valuable format, especially for young filmmakers, because like you're typically not making a feature out of the gate. Nor do I think it's a good idea, because it's like there's a lot of things you don't know as a first-time filmmaker. So like you should probably again try in low stakes and fail in low stakes before you take on something huge.
Well, that's the, what was it? A few months ago, I was doing research on the last 5 years of Sundance films, and what movies won, like who, looking at the festival circuit and like kind of understanding a little bit better. So I was like, I'll just start with Sundance. So I looked at the last 5 years, what movies were in the categories, who won, and what did they do before that, or like what was that? Like truly 90% of them, all the movies that won were a short within the 3 years before that feature. So
it's a great proof of concept.
Shorts are the beginning, and the talents. Like that's why Daniel and I like went to that short film festival. Like I think that's where you start the beginning, and like that's from there you make your features.
Yeah.
And so with what you're saying with Film Girls Brunch kind of thing, also trying to create a screening version of it, where I would love to offer them, people who are in our community, because they're like, I make it, then I don't know what to do with it. Like you should see your movie on the screen. So we're trying to figure out a way that once or twice a year we can find a space that will sponsor, support us, and exhibit it. Yeah, to encourage people to make their shorts and like make it in a way. And it's not going, like it's not a festival, it's not a thing, but it's like to like see your work on the screen and like bring your friends and family and be like, you made
it. Makes a difference. Like when you see something on a 40-foot screen, you're like, holy shit. Like,
you made this, yeah. And like you learn from it, and like you take pride in it, and like it doesn't need to be, because I think some people get scared making the movie because they're like, when am I going to do it? When am I going to do it? One, you have to pick a date and just do it.
Yeah. Just gotta hit record.
You say, you have to just do it and like force yourself and tell people that you're doing it, because it holds you accountable.
Yeah.
Two, what I'm gonna do after this, I want to give people a place to screen their project. My goal is to figure out a way that the people who participate in our screenings.
You should talk to Quentin Tarantino's theater, which is right down the way here. He does that kind of stuff. I think.
We're making a list of like local theaters that we can like start doing that with. So this is working on the background. The people who participate in our Film Girls community, that they don't have to pay for this. Like this is a treat for them. Like you've already put in the work, you've already done all this. Like let us celebrate you and support you, and like let you shine. Because I think that will also encourage them to continue on. They just like need to know that it can be done.
Yeah.
And so if that means, just giving them a place to showcase their talents. So not trying to make that accessible for them. And also with this community, having like a Google, like truly like a Google spreadsheet or a place to post about, I want to make this short, I need a gaffer, I'm looking for a DP, or I'm looking for an editor or a composer, and like people just don't know who to ask,
Right.
and like where to reach out to. I want to make, the people that I'm working with, want to make a central place that you can then go to and find those people. Because then those are also, like we talked about, people who are enthusiastic about doing this.
Yeah.
So outside of all the producing and stuff I'm doing, trying to build this.
I think it's great. Well, you need resources and you need people.
Yeah.
And so you can't do any job, but surely any creative job, without both of those elements, at least at any kind of scale. So I think, you're doing the production thing. The community aspect is you're building a network of people that, some I'm sure it's helpful for them, but then I'm sure of that group, some will go on to do wildly successful things and, hopefully bring you along, or you will start doing wildly successful things and you'll get to elevate the group and pool more resources into it. And I just think that's a really valuable effort. And you're a very nurturing person by nature too. So, you're the right person for the job. I would lose my patience, be like, "God, you guys go do it then."
Yeah, it's just like no one knows where to start or how to start. Mm-hmm. And I was there in that boat, and I would like to be anyone's jumping off point.
Yeah.
I can't promise you a job,
sure,
or like get you the job, but I would love to open the door.
Yeah.
There's always room at the table, kind of thing. So I guess
and it's best. That's what filmmaking's supposed to be, and that's what show business is supposed to be. I heard a great interview from Jerry Seinfeld recently, where he was one of the things that he loves about show business. He's like, you want to be a comedian? Just stand in line. There's a whole line of comedians. You just go to an open mic night, and you are a comedian, you know, and then you just go and do it. He's like, that's the best and the worst quality about it, because it's very Darwinian in its nature, right? Because it's like, well, there's only going to be a few survivors at the top, and there's going to be a lot of people at the bottom, and this whole thing. But there's no barrier between you and the thing that you want to do, other than your ability to like just go out and do it. Mm-hmm. Especially nowadays, where like you can buy a camera or whatever. I mean, I get this whole idea that you want what you do to be of the highest quality possible, and as it should, but
you can't let that hold you.
You can't let that hold you back. You can't wait for the money to come in,
yeah.
or you can't wait for the right talent or the right whatever, because by the time those things all come into place, the opportunity is going to pass.
Yep.
Or whatever. So the barriers are getting lower and lower. Unfortunately, it means there's a lot more noise. But I don't know, like just like you want to be a filmmaker, like just go out and be a filmmaker.
Yeah, and it sounds like...
And it's easy to say, and I know that, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know.
You literally just have to do it. Like the one that we shot over Thanksgiving break that weekend, 2 months ago before that, I was sitting down with these dudes, and we were just talking about like a writer's prompt of write something that we can shoot in a weekend, one like easy location you have access to, mm-hmm. Also the goal that you could turn this into a feature. And so that's what the purpose of this is. Once you make that, we'll submit it to film festivals, and then like I want to see a grander scope of it. Yeah. And
that's basically Midnight Lantern's like mission statement, right? Like that's like
Midnight Lantern. Oh, that's our company. That's my company.
I know. I want to shout it out.
I haven't said it once.
I had to pull it out of you. She has a company called Midnight Lantern, everybody. It's really cool, and it's going to be very, very successul, and it's going to be a big deal. So I'm just saying.
That's a side story. We should go back to how we got that name.
Okay.
But that came from also. We all took out our calendar. I was like, hey, take your phones out. What weekend is everyone available? Mm-hmm. And they were like, I guess like the 20s, like whatever, the 25th, 26th. I was like, okay, that's when we're shooting it. Go.
What are we shooting? We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, so we had 2 months to figure out the script, to figure out everything. I just kind of told them my producing side of it was I told them what needs to get done for this to get made. And I let them kind of do that. I'm like, okay, we need to hire these people. Do you know these kinds of people? Mm-hmm. If you don't know, okay, I'll help you find. Now you need to have meetings with them. Did you meet with them? Did you talk to, like, these are the questions you should be asking them. Okay. Right. And I let them do it. So I would kind of orchestrate that. I did their paperwork for them too, and I was like, I'll get you guys your insurance. I'll make sure that that's all set up. I'll handle like that. Like I knew an actor that we could pull. The other one was going to be the actor himself, and you just have to do. And then on the day we should have like, can you guys believe that we actually did this? And it's you literally just have to pick a date and just do it because it wasn't all going to line. If we said once we have the script locked, then we'll do it. Right. Then we would just keep doing rewrites and like drafts until it's ready. It's like, no, pick a date, then you have to shoot that.
There's definitely, I suffer from this, and I think a lot of creatives do. And I think that's something you're really good at fighting against is like analysis paralysis, where it's like you want to get it right because you're only gonna have a chance to do it once. So like there's this anticipation to do it, but to do it, spend an inordinate amount of time on the planning and the prepping and like the brainstorming, but in most cases it's unnecessary. You got to fight that urge because ultimately, depending on where you're at in life, not enough people are going to care where it's like going to matter, I think. And then number two, you got to approach it. You can't approach it like you're building this perfect little thing. You got to approach it, to me, in my view, and my view's evolving, and it's changed over time, but in my view, you got to kind of approach it like going to the gym. It's like, it's not going to be great the first time. You got to go, and then you got to keep going. You got to keep doing it, and you're going to do it over months and months and months. There's going to be frustrations and pitfalls, but you have to keep going into the gym to build the health and the physique that you want. It's the same thing with filmmaking. You're not going to be able to create Avatar your first crack at it. Like you start off doing way, way shittier things for no money or little money, and just for your own trial and error and figuring things out in these low stakes environments. Yeah. And then over time, you become more competent at those things, and you have a people around you that you can kind of, you can build something a little bit bigger. I mean, look at any filmmaker, like just anybody, like nobody has like this like massive hit, like right out of the gate. Like there's like, we might think that that's the case, but it's not. Like George Lucas, before he did Star Wars, did, American Graffiti, and before he did that, which was, successful. Before that, he did THX, which was like his student film prior to that, which was a short that he extrapolated. And he worked for Francis Ford Coppola doing a bunch of odd job shit. Like, it's like we only see people in success, which is kind of the unfortunate thing. You don't see all the like building towards it, but like there's always markers. Like, like Nolan, another great example. I mean, he's a guy who now everyone looks at him and is like, wow, like look at these things. But like, he was a guy who did like not infomercials, but like instructional corporate videos for like almost 10 years, I think, before he did like his feature.
Yeah, I think we were used to saying like, oh my God, their first movie was like Memento.
Right.
And it's just like, no, that's not the first time he picked up a camera and like did it.
Yeah.
I think like there's all the hiccups and stuff that you want to make now and learn from now in the low stakes situation. Yeah. To like figure out your voice, your team, your passion, what you like and what you don't like. Yeah. And kind of hone that in. Yeah.
You inspired me. We're gonna go make something. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I'm gonna do it.
Well, first things first, pick a date and pick a location.
Full circle.
Full circle, pick a date, pick a location. Join Film Girls Brunch and
if you're
support
girl or femme identifying.
Sorry, dudes. Dudes.
I would say let's form a dude club, but that would be, I think, a little anticlimactic.
That would be the world that we live in already.
Yeah, exactly.
Or hit up Midnight Lantern. We'll have room next.
Do you guys have a website or Instagram or anything yet, or any kind of public facing thing?
Dude, oh my God. Okay, we have an Instagram that like we never use, or like Daniel's like doing stuff on it. So proud of him. I'm in charge of the website. Okay. And it hasn't been done in like 2 years, and I just had to reach out to a friend to like help me do
Update it. Yeah.
Because I feel so embarrassed the fact that we don't have it because people ask for it and like.
I don't think you need a website. I think you just have like just kind of social presence.
We have stickers.
Stickers and a logo. Do you have pens? Do you have coffee mugs?
We don't have coffee. We have T-shirts. We have.
This is the starter kit.
Yeah, stickers. Daniel is such a dad where he loves just like that kind of swag, and I'll just look on the company credit card of what we purchased that month, and I'm like,
why do we spend $1,000?
I was like, another sticker mule like charge. And I'm like, oh my God, but
Wow.
they are really fun because we do go.
You should, it'd be kind of like a fun guerrilla campaign. We can edit this out, but it's just like if you just buy like all these stickers, and you just like put stickers like wherever you shot or you made something, just like leave it there, and that could be like a marker, almost like tagging like a spot. You can make it like a thing. If you did it like if you shot something like every weekend or every couple weekends,
yeah,
and like started posting it like on your Instagram or whatever, that could pick up a little bit, I think.
we do. And I don't know if this is going to be sustainable as we grow. I really hope it does because I love it. Daniel and I write thank you cards to all of our crew members at the end of a shoot.
That's nice.
And it's thank you cards, and we put stickers in there.
Oh, awesome.
As a part of our thing. But it's I like doing it. It's
Well, going back to what you said, it's about making people feel valued and feel like their work is important, and those personal touches matter. It's like those little intangibles that mean a lot to people. So
we try to do, depending on how much time, budget, and like stuff like that. We also try to ask our crew members, like when we hire them on a Google form, like what's their one favorite crafty item, as well, like their favorite snack on set.
Peanut M&Ms.
Oh, peanut M&Ms. And then we try to add that to the crafty table.
Yeah,
so like
nice.
at least they're like, oh, that's my thing.
My thing.
I love that. Except if someone puts gosh darn Twizzlers or licorice, you're disgusting.
Barely even human.
Yeah, barely even human.
Cool. Well, I think we can wrap it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope it didn't like blabber on too much.
No. Corey, you kidding?